Hey, welcome guys to People for People Radio. You're with Santos, your host for the next 2 hours, and once again I'm really pleased to be here. Very excited about the opportunity to have a residence and a place where syncretism can call itself at home, and where teachings of great philosophy and the science, theological sciences as well, astrology and all of that can have a home, and where it can be done properly, and where lots of great guests are going to join me, like today's guest. And we are very happy to also, this is the 6th episode, and no, yes it is, it's the 6th, and I'm very happy to have had, from the first interview with Jordan Maxwell on January the 8th, great, wonderful guests. And today we have conspiracy music guru to join us. I've been posting a lot of Alex's videos on conspiracies. They're very funny, he's very poetic, and I'm sure if you've been following my Facebook page and my syncretism, you will have seen a couple of his vids for sure. So without further ado, welcome Alex.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's an honour. I've been following your work for a while. I'm not sure I completely understand it, but I know who you are, and I applaud you for what you do. And thank you for having me on. It's an honour, man. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too, for sure. Yeah, it's great to wake up to conspiracies. One thing, then how do you wake others? Not that you're going to necessarily convert that immediately into trying to help others and wake them up. You need to sort of get it together first, really, before you go out. People can call you crazy, but it's one thing to wake up, and then it's another way of how to get it across. And you've got just a unique way. I've got my way. My way is through knowledge and understanding. So the knowledge is out there. I got it. Do I understand it? Well, I think I do. So my presentations are based on my understanding of the science that is already there. Now, that's my method, right? So sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's quite laborious to do that science deeply and with a lot of love. Sometimes it's like a task for some people. Unfortunately, with the way the world is today, people don't really want to think about conspiracies or deep things too much. So you've got the comical way, and people will be compelled just to listen to the song because you really make it funny, like every lyric and just the way you do it, the kind of tone you put on it. It's like you can tell that a punchline's coming, the way you wind up that humour voice. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, my approach is, is do what you know. Once you wake up to these conspiracies, how can I contribute? Well, the only way I can possibly contribute is with music. That's pretty much all I've done my entire life. And so when I woke up to, some of the things that I speak about and sing about and write about, the gravity and being a hoax, and the satellites being a hoax, and the International Space Station being not what we thought. All of these things, when they all come together and you wake up to them, for me, it just gave me this huge creative burst. And as a songwriter, that I'd been in the bars and the clubs before, singing cover songs, and just writing the odd love song and here and that, but never really thought outside the box. And then all of a sudden, you wake up to how the world really works, and it really gives you plenty of material, and there will always be plenty of material as far as I'm concerned. So my approach is to sort of get my message out, and what I'm passionate about it's music, and my music sows seeds. And I don't go into massive amounts of details in my songs. My songs are only 6 minutes, and you can't go into too much detail. And I'm not articulate enough and knowledgeable enough about all these, subjects about gravity or whatever. So I just like to highlight the bullet points in my songs and get as much information across as possible in 6 minutes, so that it at least can sow the seed. And that's what I've been getting in terms of feedback. People use my music to sow seeds with their family and friends and loved ones who they want to wake up to these big deceptions, and they use my music to do it. I've had mothers telling me that they use my music to educate their children, and because my videos are so visually entertaining as well, they're great for kids. So what I've developed here is a teaching tool, it seems, and I had no idea that it would be used for that. It was just my way of being expressive and putting these awakening thoughts into music. But now it's being used as a teaching tool, and I couldn't be happier. So now I'm going to be doing a lot more.
Yeah, good on you, man. I'll be right behind you, supporting you and posting your vids for sure. I love the ones you do on NASA. They're the funniest because it's pretty. When you put your graphics up and you poke fun at the moon landing or something like that, it's just hilarious because it's so bleeding obvious. So you're pointing out the obvious, and people can't really sit there and how are they going to argue? It's just a song, It's not some guy. Being dogmatic and forthright and prejudiced and everything like that. It's not. It's visible here.
It's your level of understanding, I think. I mean, some people can, if you're conspiratorially minded and you understand these concepts, you're going to get a lot more out of the visuals and a lot more out of the lyrics because you can relate them to stuff that you've already looked at. And you'll get a lot more out of the songs. However, if you're just a fluoride consuming, Coca-Cola drinking, news believing, X Factor watching Luddite, then you're still going to enjoy the songs, but on a really, really superficial level. You're just going to see some guy in a cowboy hat and some shades singing about gravity not being real or the ISS being fake. But what I will do with those people who don't understand these concepts at all is I will sow a seed, because once you see visually one astronaut pulling on another astronaut's harness, you just can't unsee that. And even though it might not make sense at the time, that was still those certain images like that just stick in your subconscious, and you go, hold on, why are they using harnesses on the ISS? And I highlight green screen mistakes and all these different, or a zero-G plane and propose that, these astronauts are in nothing but zero-G planes. And you put these thoughts into people's heads. So even though even though these people don't particularly understand these concepts, I'm definitely sowing the seeds. And as I said before, they're wonderful tools for waking people up and sowing seeds. And you obviously thought that because you've been posting it on your Facebook. And thanks for doing that.
Yeah, for sure. So what are the subjects that you cover, just quickly, for new people to your research?
Well, the entire album that I created, the very first album that I created when I first started waking up to these deceptions that where we might not being told the complete truth about where we live, and it all really sort of points to NASA. I see NASA as a huge culprit in this mind control. I see NASA as a big mind control organisation. If you look at its founders like Werner von Braun and JPL and all their founder, it stinks of Nazi and scientism and mind control. That's what it stinks of. So, I set out to sort of really make an album, a comedic album, and point the finger at NASA and try and expose exactly what they really are. And some of my, even just the titles of my songs on the first album, the Flat Earth Man album, it's called, by Conspiracy Music Guru. One of the titles of the songs is "Do You Still Believe We Went to the Moon?" And that is the chorus. Do you still believe we went to the moon? And verse after verse after verse, I highlight many of the Apollo mistakes of the NASA moon landings. For instance, the 13,000 reels of telemetry data that all of a sudden went missing. Things like this, where the user's going to go, really, 13,000 reels of telemetry data, it's just gone missing, and that's the ultimate thing that would prove the moon landings. I put that in the song. Also, the moon rocks that were given to this Dutch museum that turned out to be nothing more than petrified wood. And I put that in the song as well. And the line is, and when God made the moon, he saw it was good, but apparently made it from petrified wood. So these little clever little lyrics, and they're humorous as well. They, I hope they sort of stick in the mind. But that's just one of the songs to try and open people's mind to the fact that the Apollo missions were absolute hoaxes and filmed in a. The whole thing was filmed on a Hollywood set, directed by Kubrick. Is my best bet. Is one of the lines in that song as well. So if you haven't noticed already, I do put on a voice for the songs. But that's one of the songs. Do you still believe we went to the moon? Don't Believe in Gravity is another title of one of my songs. No photographs of Earth, which is absolutely true. There's no such thing as a real genuine photograph of the so-called planet Earth. There's another song called Space is Fake, which I believe it to be. Another song called Welcome to the Satellite Hoax, which touches on the idea that satellites are not what we're being told. And in the song it says, they're just on balloons, man. They don't orbit the Earth. There's another song called I Always Wanted to Be an Astronaut, and I Don't Want to Talk About NASA, Don't Let Them Take Your Mind. It's really a comedic way of pointing the finger at NASA in a humorous way, with also a ton of information in the lyrics that should make you go, well, that's suspicious, don't you think?
It helps when a comedian has a funny sounding voice and a funny looking face, right? So you got to look funny. You do. It's even in the smile. I mean, some comedians, I just laugh looking at them. So that's how much they live their humour. That's how much they express it. They are the essence, the epitome of it. They love it. They are it. It's not about doing it. They are it. It's about being it. When you
sorry to interrupt. It's funny you say that, but I did create the character, and I become the character. It's the first time I've ever created a character, but I created that character in order to hide behind it. Because when you're researching these things like moon landing was faked, you start talking to your layman guy on the street, they're going to think you're completely crazy when you start saying things that satellites are a hoax and the Earth is flat and blah blah blah. So what I wanted to do musically was put songs out there to get this stuff off my chest, but I didn't want to put myself out as the real Alex Michael, as an artist, as a serious artist. So I had to create a character to hide behind, so that friends and family wouldn't be pointing the finger and say, "Oh, Alex has lost his mind." At least I could find the idea that, this is just satire, this is just comedy, take it as you will, kind of thing. But of course, people that are more research into these things will know that there's a lot more truth to the lyrics than meets the eye. So the character and the look was created for the normal guy just to hide behind, if you like. And believe it or not, I actually kind of dress like that in real life because I live in Spain. I'm always wearing a vest because it's so hot here, and a pair of shorts. And I just got into the studio that day to create, when I wrote the first song, which was called The Flat Earth Man, I got into the studio and was working out certain chords, and these things work better in a country genre. Country music is a great genre to express these kind of ideas because it tells a story. It's great for doing that. So I got into the studio and in my shorts and in my vest and put, and this voice was like, well, I met a man the other day who thought the Earth was flat, and I said, man, you must be crazy. Where the hell's your tinfoil hat? Sounded great in that voice, that's kind of southern Texan, and with country chords as well, pretty simplistic country chords. It sounded good. It sounded like a Johnny Cash kind of song. I thought, this is great. And then when I came to do the video, I literally grabbed I had a hat here in the studio that I bought off the local market, had some shades, and I put that was my entire wardrobe. I was already wearing the vest and the shorts because I live in Spain and it's so hot, and it just happened to work. I look like this kind of hick, if you like, this kind of hillbilly, but clearly he's not dumb, this guy who's doing these performances, because he's clearly well researched on these subjects. So anyone that says, I'm making fun of flat earthers or anything, no, not at all, because this country guy who's now been affectionately called Flat Earth Man is clearly well researched, and he's got an awful lot to say. But yeah, that look kind of just came naturally because there is a lot of me in that character, but an awful lot of fun to do.
Well, there you go. See, that's what I'm saying about the living it, being it, that adds another dimension to this. You're now showing how you just merge into that character is just, a hop away, a step away, because you're actually really living that, you're in Spain, which is very hot, like Texas, and you've got the same accent, and you're doing it in that, in the clothing, that sort of harks back to a cowboy, and the imagery is all just perfect. I mean, you couldn't tweak it any better, could you?
I mean, that's one thing people don't realise, the amount of hours that goes into a 6-minute video. One of the videos, which was called Space is Fake, and I showcased that at the Flat Earth International Conference in Denver in 2018, and I wanted to make it good, but that one took me 3 months to make, a 6-minute video, because I'm putting myself in all sorts of different positions with the green screen and making mistakes and having to re-record it and re-edit it, and I might spend an entire day in the studio and come away with 5 or 10 seconds worth of usable footage. That's how long it was taking to do these things. So they really are, and it really is that album and the visual and the videos that go with it, an enormous body of work when you put it into those kind of time frames. And I get requests constantly, could you do a song about 5G or do a song about vaccinations? And I'd love to do all of these things, because all of these things warrant a great conspiracy song, but a video to go with it takes me like 3 months. I wish there was 10 or 20 more of me, to doing this kind of stuff. But, the visuals are, it takes an incredible amount of time, researching, trying to find the right videos to put in the background and avoiding copyright issues, and but an enormous amount of fun. And thankfully I've got a bit of a comedic head on me, and I can literally bend over backwards in some of the shots. I mean, in my song Puppet Show, there's a scene of me flying through the ISS, seemingly in zero gravity with my hair floating around. And to get that shot, I had to literally bend over backwards so my hair is falling down naturally, and then reverse the image. So I have literally bent over backwards to make these videos in concept. A lot of fun.
Gotcha. So to be like, to excel in your craft and in your art, and what you do, that the factor of living it is, and being it, is the key, really. And so, you can, and you also have the research. So, you've researched these, and you have something to say. You're not just writing songs to get a kick out of it and to be humorous or whatever other reason. So it's you adding another dimension to your art and your craft. It's like some of these great songwriters and musicians from the 60s who were the counter-revolution and had, iconic humanitarian themes, like perhaps John Lennon, Bob Dylan, guys like that. They actually kind of were rebellious and really lived it. Oh, well, they'd have to be of that caliber of a musician. So the same with this, not just everything's coming together, it's all perfect. But I was thinking there when you were saying about other topics or subjects and conspiracies, like, for instance, vaccines. How would you dress then? Would you have another character when you dealt with all your different themes, or is it the same?
That's a difficult one, because is everything on the table when it comes to these kinds of songs? This is something I'm sort of learning. I mean, can I sing a humorous song about cancer? I mean, that's really, really tough. I mean, can you do that in a comedic way? Because it's really not a funny subject. But so, I mean, maybe songs like that in the future, but they would certainly have to, I don't think I could do them comedically. I recently did a song called Look Up, which was about chemtrails. And instead of using a character for that, I used my normal voice, my normal singing voice, and I put a lot of emotion to it. And it worked really well. So I'm sort of playing, I'm creatively sort of experimenting, really. If you're going to be singing songs about aluminum and strontium and barium raining down and poisoning crops and this geoengineering campaign that is ultimately killing people and making people sick. You can't really put a cowboy hat on and a pair of sunglasses and start dancing around and trying to rhyme with barium and strontium and making jokes about it, because it's really not funny. So that's why I decided to make the song Look Up, to raise awareness, but there's no way that you could do that in a comedic style. So all these other subjects that people want me to touch on, like vaccinations and 5G, I don't know if they can be done humorously, but the problem is with that is I'm not really the kind of serious artist. In a way, I've tried that serious side of it, but there's not much fun in that. I mean, it almost makes me cry when I make them sort of. That song did make me cry, believe it or not. They played it on Truth Frequency Radio, and I hadn't heard it in weeks. And when they played it back, I cried on air, which was radio gold. But I mean, it just goes to show the emotion that you can put into a song like that. But I don't know. All of a sudden, then my work becomes quite depressing if I'm to be in the studio and to sing about these subjects, and like 5G. I mean, I really want to raise awareness for these kinds of things, but can that be done comedically? I don't know.
Right, I get you. So yeah, you'd have comedy, you'd have serious, you'd have something in the middle, I'd say, like just informative, info, just as they do on the news. They tell you the news, they don't necessarily make jokes about it or get too serious. Oh, there's another terrorist attack, let's all sit here and cry now, shall we? But they just give you the information. So if it's a bit less fun, I guess, but it would still capture people's, imagination, because they've got the visuals, and so you would just sort of do it as an informative song, I guess. But
talking about the songs I was just then, the Look Up, I mean, how do you feel about me playing it, and let me know what you think about this? I mean, I experimented, because you've seen the Flat Earth Man stuff, it's all very comedic, it's all it works as a tool for getting this information across, to try and sow seeds. And then once that album was done, people were saying, well, let's hear what you really sound like, because people knew it was a character. They said, well, what do you actually sound like? And that's when I wrote the song Look Up regarding chemtrails. So, I mean, I put it out there, and, a lot of people seem to like it, but, how do you feel about me playing it? And you can give me some feedback on it. Yeah,
right. Well, are you able to play that one for us?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I've got it queued up right here. The song is it's very, very folky. It sounds like an Irish folk song. Got a lot of emotion. It tells a wonderful story about a man who meets a chemtrail pilot, and he tells of his story. Okay, so here it is.
This song is dedicated to all the chemtrail pilots, of which my old friend was one. Hello, old friend, how long has it been? I don't think I've seen you since we were 16. Tell me, how are you? Oh, how the time flies. I heard you're a pilot now, cruising the skies. It was your destiny, it was your dream. We used to play airplanes when we were 16. Tell me about all the things that you've seen in your wonderful world, in your flying machine. And he said, well, flying those planes ain't as great as it sounds. I have a story that's sure to astound. There's something quite evil that happens out there, and most of the people are so unaware. You see, I was ordered to fly and to spew a hazy white cocktail, a chemical brew. Have you ever wondered why skies are so grey? And gone are the blue skies from back in the day. Look up look up to the sky and ask your government why they're spraying their chemicals over your head. It's almost as though they want everyone dead. Look up, look up, look up. Look up to the sky above. The air that you breathe has been compromised. Please look up, look up, look up. Most people, they see those little white lines, assume that it's normal, assume they're benign, but nothing could be much more further from truth. Those lingering chemtrails are poisoning you. They poison the ground and they block out the sun. A chemical warfare against everyone. A toxic geoengineering campaign. Do you know of anything more inhumane? Aluminum, barium, strontium-2, ingredients found in their chemical brew. The crops getting drenched with a poisonous rain, with metals so heavy they clog up your brain, causing diseases. It's so sad to mention neurological problems, Alzheimer's, dementia, and people get sicker and sicker. The haze in the sky just gets thicker and thicker. A dastardly crime against humanity. Big Pharma are rubbing their hands gleefully, 'cause the more that they spray, then the worse for your health. The more that they spray, then the more is their wealth. But you're all looking down and you're all unaware, far too distracted, too busy to care. But I'll blow my whistle and I'll shout in the street until all the people just look up and see. Look up to the sky and ask your government why they're spraying their chemicals over your head. It's almost as though they want everyone dead. Look up, look up, look up. Look up to the sky above. The air that you breathe has been compromised. Please look up, look up, look up.
Well, that was the last time I saw my old friend. A tragedy happened I can't comprehend. He took his own life, or so it was said. Apparently shot himself twice in the head. My old friend was silenced for telling his tales of flying machines spewing toxic chemtrails. But his story remains about what those planes spray. And when I look in the sky, I can still hear him say,
look up to the sky and ask your government why they're spraying their chemicals over your head. It's almost as though they want everyone dead. Look up, look up, look up. Look up to the sky above. The air that you breathe has been compromised. Please look up, look up, look up.
That's the uplifting new single from the conspiracy music guru.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was exquisite. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, that was just perfect the way it was. Lots of thought-provoking lines, very intelligently done. I think it had the power to move. That was definitely there, the tone of ethics. I guess you could call it morals. It's a moral thing, to look out for the community. But I like to use ethics. It's more in line with philosophy, whereas morals is more in line with religion. So, it's what we should be doing. If you know that your neighbour is being harmed and you don't warn him, as in biblical motifs, you are blood guilty. So, this is one way of covering your blood guilt. If you want to speak philosophically, it's your way of saying, well, I told you, and or at least the song has that tone in it, and it's very fatherly, it's very motherly as well. Sometimes it's a little bit harsh, and then other times it's very embracive and very comforting. So well done.
Oh, thank you. Maybe I'm trying to repay my karmic debt with songs like these. I don't know, because up to the year 2012, I was a complete and utter dick. I don't mind admitting it. But when I started on my journey of these kinds of conspiracies and finding out how the world really works, I felt that I had to do something musically, because that's all I know how to do, and contribute in some way. And there is a moral aspect to it, and waking up, like you say, if your neighbour's hurting, you should sing a song about it, and it is thought-provoking, but it was a new direction for me creatively, because all I'd done prior to that was put the shades on and the hat on and dance around and make comedic country songs. So that was definitely a different direction for me, and I don't know whether to continue down that road of doing the serious thought-provoking moral songs that tug at the heartstrings and emotional stuff like that, or just do it all, really. The comedic stuff works, the emotional stuff works. If I can do these things well, then I can, I'm not just going to limit myself and put myself in pigeonhole myself and call myself a country artist or a pop artist or an R&B artist. Now I'm an artist, and I want to experiment creatively with all of these kinds of things, and putting that song out there and just hearing your feedback was amazing. Thank you for that. But it's nice to know that that is an option if I want to take that route. But there's so many things I want to do, so many different styles I want to do, and there's so many things I want to sing about and write about, and try and put my mark on this world, and at least say to people that I tried to wake people up. I tried musically, and hopefully I can leave a bit of a legacy behind, and go to my grave a happy man, saying at least I tried.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, that's the option now. You have to have all your different styles. You can have your comedy, you can have your serious songs, but at least people who really follow your work and love what you do, they can just go to a playlist, for instance, and they might want to avoid perhaps your flat earth ones to certain family members, and just go to a certain playlist. Maybe it's vaccines, because they're contemplating vaccinating their children or something. So, that's what I thought, envisage if I were like in your position. And I am really, more or less, because I've got playlists where I've got just astrology, just astrotheology. I've got a Spanish presentations playlist, Portuguese language, Italian language, and I've got just general syncretism. Then I've got sovereignty and law ones that I do. So Yeah,
That's quite a body of work there. I mean, I would love to be in that position one day to have a playlist for Flat Earth related songs, a playlist for New World Order related songs, a playlist for, I don't know, explaining the birth certificate order or whatever, or sovereignty or these kind of. I'd love to do that. But as far as I'm concerned at the moment, I mean, I've only been alive, as far as I'm concerned, for 8 years. What I mean by that is in 2012 I was kind of dead, really, just in the matrix, doing just struggling to get by, and ever since sort of 2012 when I woke up to some of these bigger, so how the world really works, that's when I first started learning and started dumping everything that I had learned in order to learn anew. So that's only been an 8-year journey for me, and only in the last 2 or 3 years have I been confident enough to put that into and able enough to work the software to be able to put this into music and music production. So eventually I'm going to get to a point. I mean, what am I now? 48 now. So I mean, I'm only just starting on this journey musically. I hope to have all of those kind of playlists that you mentioned. Musically, having a playlist that deals with this particular type of conspiracy, so that users can go to my channel and say, right, I would like to educate or at least sow some seeds with my family about vaccinations. I know just the playlist that will do it musically, comedically, and sow some seeds and start people on their journey. So but as far as I'm concerned, I've only really been sort of awake and alive really for 8 years. So but I'm happy, I'm healthy, I feel like I've got a purpose. All I want to do is this music, and I'm very, very excited about it and the response that it's got. So I'm going to be doing it for years to come.
Oh, too good. Yeah, and what a vocation, to be called to teach forth truths. Plato said, difficult it is to find the knowledge of the truth, and dangerous it is to publish. So, but, we...
in times of the universal deceit, the telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act, isn't it, Orwell?
Yep, there you go. So, and then what have your family and friends thought of the Flat Earth ones? When did that come along?
Well, I mean, I first started looking at the Flat Earth subject at sort of 2016. So started putting that into song about a year later, 2017. And I honestly, to this day, do not think that my family truly believe that I'm singing. They only see it on that superficial level that we touched on earlier. They just see me in a hat and glasses singing gravity's fake, whatever, or we didn't go to the moon. That's all they hear, that's all they see. Because they're not looking into that. They don't understand the relevance there. They don't understand the power of what's going on in the music. They'll only ever see it on that superficial level. So I'm convinced that they still believe that they think I'm fooling around, or it's just satire or comedy. They won't for a second think, hold on, really? Moon landing fakes? He showed a lot of credible evidence there. There's a lot of bullet points. There's a lot of, that's really interesting. I should research. They're not those kinds of people, which is why I'm really the kind of black sheep of my family, really. So, as far as my family is concerned, they don't really care. They just think, oh, look, Alex is happy. He's making his music. He's doing something he loves. God bless him. Little pat on the head, and off they go to work and drinking their Coca-Cola. That's where they are, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So and as far as friends, I really kind of lost contact with my friends when I moved away from England, which was 5 years ago. I came to Spain for a bit more privacy, a bit more, to get more creative, and I absolutely love it here. I don't have a massive social circle, thankfully. I had a few friends over here. We went out for the odd meal here and there, and tried to sow a few seeds with, to try and get people to understand what I currently understand. But the conversation got so ugly, and really, some people are just not destined to wake up no matter how many seeds you try and sow. And it got really quite ugly. The conversation really got quite heated, just to try to present some friends and trying to help them out and say, look, you're being lied to. And that was a real lesson for me, when that got heated. And that was the night I came home and started writing I Don't Want to Talk About NASA. which was one of my songs where I'm just like, getting drunk throughout the song because, every time I open my stupid mouth, something about NASA comes flying out. And it was just this story of this guy who's trying to wake up his friends. He's desperately trying to wake up his friends, but they just, it's like banging your head on a brick wall. So I don't have a massive social circle, thankfully, because I know how difficult it is when you try and approach these topics to the general masses. You have to gauge your audience very, very carefully. So I don't have a massive social circle. So if I did, maybe I don't know. Maybe they think I've lost my mind, but I can always hide behind the character, it's just comedy, it's just satire, whatever. But of course, people in the know that I know.
Yeah. So have you got the NASA one queued up? I'd love to hear that one because I think that's the one that made me roll around in laughter.
Yeah, which one? I mean, I'll give you. There's one called. Well, it is. Which one are you on about? Are you talking about the one called Flat Earth Man, which is NASA's faking everything?
Yeah. If you've got any one of those queued up, yeah, I'd love to hear one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's 10 on the first album, and I'm just about to release another album, which are all the songs but done acoustically live, and they sound fantastic. So I'll give you I'll tell you what. I'll play you the song where it all started. The song is called Flat Earth Man, and it's a story about a guy who meets a guy who believes the Earth is flat, and he says, "You're crazy, right? You're crazy." And it's actually a true story. It's about me and my buddy Mike when I first approached him with the subject, and he said, that knee-jerk reaction, don't be ridiculous. What about all the photographs? What about all the videos that we have from space? Blah, blah, blah. So that was the kind of conversation that inspired this song, and I made the song called Flat Earth Man, which ultimately ended up being the name of my character. And it then a complete an album followed after this one track. I put it out there on the internet, not expecting anyone to see it. But then I woke up one morning and my buddy Mike, who the song is about, texted me and said, like all the prominent flat earthers have found your song on YouTube. They love it, and they're all commenting. All the people that I looked up to and listened to, during my awakening period about this topic. And so I ended up making a whole album after that, just because of this one song. I thought, well, I've got to make more if they all like it. And it just kind of grew and grew. I had no intention to make an album, but here it is anyway. And this is the very first song off that album, and it's the song that started the entire album off, and it's about meeting a guy who thinks the Earth is flat, and here it is, Flat Earth Man.
Thought the earth was flat. I said, man, you must be crazy. Where the hell is your tinfoil hat? But he spoke with such conviction, and he believed the words he spoke. But something deep inside me knew this couldn't be a joke. But why would he believe this? Or why believe such things? Cause everybody knows the earth's a ball and that it spins. Well, you must be pretty crazy if you think the earth is flat. Cause we all know that it's a globe, and that's a simple fact. So I said, what about the photographs that NASA takes from space? He gave a knowing smile and told me, man, those things are fake. But what about the videos that I've seen with my two eyes? What about them? He replied, have you heard of CGI? Oh, that's just faking everything that you have ever seen. And as for flying to the moon, well, they ain't never been. Indeed, my friend, their light skull is there for you to see. Just take some time, look into it, and the truth will set you free. Well, I was kind of skeptical, but I have an open mind. And what he said was interesting, and I've got a little time. So I grabbed myself a coffee, and I started watching vids. Because if NASA's really lying, then they're lying to my kids. And as I watched, I got angry as I learned of the deceit. The global Earth deception was right there at my feet. Well, holy smoke, this could be true. What if we're not on a globe? The more I learned, the more I yearned, the more I started to probe. I upturned every rock of information I could find. I started to unlock the truth, the war upon my mind. I had 1,000 questions I just couldn't understand. I had to meet that man again, that flat earth man. Oh, that's just making everything that you have ever seen. And as for flying to the moon, well, they ain't never been. Indeed, my friend, their lion skull is there for you to see. Just take some time, look into it, and the truth will set you free. Well, I called him up that evening, and he agreed to meet. He was very welcoming, and he showed me to my seat. He said, I see you've done some research, my open-minded friend. I know you'll have some questions, which will get you in the end. First, take a look at what's on these walls, paintings of a globe. I painted every single one of these, don't you know? You see, back in the day before computers, I was in demand. An artist painting everything I saw upon the land. Landscapes were my favorite. I was awfully good at those. Many people told me that they looked just like photos. And then one day I got a call from a real important dude. He asked me if I'd like a job and said the money's good. Well, what's the job, I asked him, then I'll wait for his reply. You'll be painting globes for NASA. Then he promptly said goodbye. Well, I was sworn to secrecy. I could not tell a soul that I just got myself a job with NASA painting globes. My work was published globally in every magazine to fool the people of where we live, a truly evil scheme. See, we don't live on a globe, he said, the earth is truly flat. I've been on the inside and I know that that's a fact. Oh, that's just making everything that you have ever seen. And as for flying to the moon, well, they ain't never been. Indeed, my friend, their lion skull is there for you to see. Just take some time, look into it, and the truth will set you free. Well, we talked until the sun came up and my mind was truly blown. This man had challenged everything that I thought I'd known. And finally it was clear to me to why these rascals lie. And finally it was clear to me about the reasons why. It's all about control, you know, to get inside your head. It's all about the money too. They got an awful lot of bread. $50 million, man, what could you do with that? That's what NASA gets a day to hide the earth is flat. You see, if they can get you to believe that you're on a spinning ball, well, things like God and creation just make no sense at all. It all exploded from nothing, right, with their theory of Big Bang. It's true satanic mind control from the Freemasonic gang. You see, it's only Freemasons that get to go to space. They're the evil rascals who are lying to your face. Yeah, NASA's pretty evil, man. The whole thing is such a fraud. The only reason they exist is to hide a loving God. Oh, NASA's faking everything that you have ever seen. NASA's flying to the moon, well, they've never been. Indeed, my friend, their lion skull is there for you to see. Just take some time, look into it, and the truth will set you free. Yeah, NASA's pretty evil, man. They're a lying scumbag. Take some time, man. Look into it. I did. Now my mind is truly blown.
Yeehaw!
There you go. The flat earth one that kicked it all off, man. I never expected to be making an album after that, but here I am with an album after that.
Right, so you've got the two?
The two albums, yeah. The two, if you're referring to the two albums, I made that album, which is a product of my research into the globe deception. Then shortly after that, I made another album called True Solfeggio, which is in 432 hertz. The Flat Earth Man album is also 432 hertz, but this goes a little bit deeper and using the True Solfeggio Healing Frequencies, which is a guitar instrumental album. There's no lyrics, it's not funny, there's no comedy there, it's just good guitar playing. A lot of people said it sounds a bit like sort of Floyd, Eric Clapton, these kinds of artists, and it's just basically healing frequencies. So I mean, the two albums that I put out couldn't be further apart. I was on an interview a couple of weeks ago, and the guy said he bought my second album expecting to hear something similar, and he was like, whoa, what the, because it's such a different concept. But again, the True Solfeggio album is a product of my research into that area, into the 432 hertz conspiracy and the solfeggio healing tones and that kind of thing. I don't know if you wanted to go into that subject.
Oh yeah, let's. Please. That's
it's a big one, isn't it? It's a big subject, and I'm only just skimming the surface of it at the moment. But when a book literally turned up today called the 440 Enigma. It's called by a guy called L.C. Vincent. And I only just skimmed the surface of it really. But in this book, which I recommend, and I've only just skimmed it, but it tells you all about why it was changed, who changed it, what the significance is about the changing, the health implications, and it really is quite frightening. All funded by the Rockefellers, of course. So it really is quite an eye-opening subject. I mean, everything in our world, it seems to me, that is poisoned: the information, the food, the water, the air, and somehow I didn't think that poison would apply to the music. But when you start looking deep into these musicians and the occultic origins of these musicians and what the elite are doing with the frequency of our music and bastardizing the music in the form of convenience and compressing it and all of these kind of things that's being done to our music, and just even the chord progressions and the lyrical content, it's a million miles away from what we had 100 years ago. Symphonic orchestras going in peaks and troughs and expressing musical emotion. But now we get the devil's music, the three chords and that kind of thing. So the bastardization of music is something that's become very interesting to me, and just a product of my research was the True Solfeggio album, which is all guitar instrumentals in these particular healing frequencies in 432 hertz, and the feedback that I've got has been, wow, it's been quite incredible, really. I mean, there's definitely something to the 432 hertz. I can definitely say that with confidence. And when you start looking into why it was changed and who changed it, well, then it's a huge eye-opener, I can tell you that.
Oh, okay, so that would definitely be a Rothschild-Rockefeller connection there for sure.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would have to be the ones to enable it, because there wouldn't be any authority higher, really. So it'd have to come from them, wouldn't it?
Well, I mean, look, just to quote a little bit from this book, if I can find it. And it's frightening stuff. There was a guy in this book called The 440 Enigma by L.C. Vincent. He refers to this guy called John C. Deegan as the Devil's Apprentice. In the late 1870s, I'm going to be quoting from the book here because I can't articulate it just yet because I've only just arrived. So John C. Deegan was a young musician who in the 1870s became fascinated with musical percussion instruments, blah, 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 the xylophone, etc. John C. Deegan Musical Instrument Company was born. In 1896, John C. Deegan became one of the founding members of the American Federation of Musicians. Then the American Federations of Musicians received a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation in 1910 to make A equals 440 hertz the keynote tuning standard for America at their annual convention. So right there it is. And to enforce this into Europe, then you enter Mr. Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propagandist, to start propagating the A equals 440 into Europe. And here we have this tuning standard now.
And that was, what year was that?
Well, it was in 1910 in America, and in Europe was about 1955, I believe. Yeah, So this 440 is being propagated all over the place. Yeah, Goebbels held an international conference in 1939 to establish A equals 440 hertz as the international music keynote. So, and not only that, but in this book it also talks about things like the NBC chimes, the nefarious NBC chimes. This radio station that used these three chimes that became, the NBC station identification, 3-note chimes became so much a part of Americana that they were also used in dining cars on the major American railroads to announce that dinner was served. They were sold as doorbells to American households and as toys to children. The NBC chimes were ubiquitous, seemingly heard everywhere throughout America. Perhaps it should come as no surprise that all of the NBC chimes were created by the John C. Deegan Company of Chicago, the guy we talked about before, and they were all set to vibrate based on a key scale of A equals 440 hertz. So there you have the 440 being put into the NBC chimes, and also clock towers and the dialing tone of telephones and all these things. So there's a massive push to push this disharmonic frequency all over the world.
Yeah, gotcha. So 432 is a harmonic of that golden number, which goes back to the precession of the equinoxes, which is, I'll give you a whole series in the numbers. It all goes back to 9. So 72, 108, 144, 132, 432 I was referring to. These are all processional numbers. I've done this so many times in my presentation and how they work. Hydrogen has a frequency of 1.008. Hydrogen is the only atom in the universe which doesn't have, well, it doesn't work like any other atom. Maurice Cotterell, a scientist there in England, in Great Britain, he says that it is the only atom that spins and doesn't wobble. It doesn't have a wobble to it. I don't know what that means, but nonetheless, it's very special. And so that's also the most representative element in the universe, hydrogen. And when you unravel the word, it's an anagram for door, which is from Tor, which is torus fields. It's torus energy. It's toroidal energy. So dro is door, and so it's like a doorway, a portal atom. And so these frequencies go back to these numbers. And 432, of course, Pythagoras was the one who went into that, started with the number 27. Would that be correct?
I know Pythagoras was looking into, the geometry of shapes and then putting that parallel with frequencies. It's like the geometric, for instance, a triangle would have 180 degrees, and then he would parallel that with 180 hertz. Their whole number, mathematical harmonic sort of intervals, if you like. I don't know. I think he was the guy that started looking into that stuff, but we've moved very far away from that in today's music.
Yeah. So, 27 was the key number that Pythagoras worked from. So that's 3 sets of 9, 18, 27, 3 times 3 times 3. And that's the cube. That cube there, that's the actual Rubik's cube, Rubik's. So is that what it's called? Yes, it is. That's right. And it's the magical number, and 432 is a harmonic of that. So that's why it's so important. When you play your instruments at that frequency, all of a sudden there's no compression like in 440, right? There's all of the harmonics now. They're all listening to each other. They're all connected. So it's all about the ether.
Are they not connected mathematically as well? Because once you start going into 440 hertz, you start seeing that they're not whole number changes. anymore. That's like, 440. If you go, let me just go to my little folder here. For instance, we're talking when you're in 440, you're for instance, if you're in 432, the C note becomes 256 hertz. The D note becomes 288, then 324, then 344. These are whole number changes. When you start changing to 440, then the A becomes 440, and then the B becomes 492.156, that, and it just becomes really, really messy. So I think there's definitely something in the mathematics fundamentally, but I mean, from me just doing my own scientific experiment, if you like, by making an album that, where is my album, that has these so-called chakra healing tones embedded into them, which only arise when you tune your instruments to 432. These particular solfeggio healing frequencies do not arise when you tune your keyboard or guitar to 440. The mathematical harmonics do not appear. The harmonics are stronger, So making an album with these solfeggio healing frequencies, also in using 432 as the root note, and then selling, I've probably sold from 1,000 to 2,000 of these albums now, and just gauging the feedback like any scientific experiment, and recording the feedback. And I've had nothing but people say, other music does not affect me like this. This particular song, it shivered down my spine, or I had, my plants grow better, my children sleep to this song. Any other song won't work, but yours does for some reason. My pets are calmer, my anxiety lifted, and I get feedback constantly every single week saying, this is what your music did to me. No other music seems to do that. So just gauging the feedback alone, and just embedding these frequencies that can barely be heard when you listen to the music, because all the guitars are playing over the top, but for some reason when you bend a note on the electric guitar and you're in 432, it hits you, it resonates in your skull, but not in a piercing way, in a way that's pleasurable, in a way that gives you chills in your spine or on your arms. Just this music, for some reason, I mean, I feel it in the studio. I've recorded in 440 and I've recorded in 432, and I could tell you the kind of reactions I get in the studio from 432, and just seeing the feedback from other people as well. It's just, there's definitely something to it mathematically, spiritually, and it's no wonder the powers that be have stolen that from us.
Yeah, for sure. And then, as you said earlier on, that there's other things going on, like more compression with digital music. Digital music should be richer than analog music if it's done correctly, because the digital pulse wave is the longitudinal magnetic wave, radiation, which is superior to vibration. So the analog is from the vibratory wave. I'm not saying that either or is really superior in this modern day age, but with digital compression, it's just a convenience for the digital devices to be able to play the music. It's such a horrible way to really make music sound like it's coming out of a transistor, really, doesn't it? I also converted my albums to 432, so I've got my fusion music, which is flamenco, Latin jazz, instrumental music, on my Universal Truth School website at 432. I didn't record them at 432. I converted them to, which is not the same thing, but it is much more pleasurable to listen to by far, even just by the conversion. Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's the same thing. And go on.
Carry on. No, you carry on, please.
Yeah. So more artists that record in this, the better, I'd say. So, hey, how about we listen to another one of your songs and use it as a break? Because generally I go to a break at the top of the hour, so that way I can get a cup of tea or something like that. Can we do that?
Yeah. Would you like to hear something from the Solfeggio album?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this song is recorded in using 432 hertz as the base tuning frequency. But this is said to be I've embedded the frequencies of 128 hertz, 256 hertz, and 512 hertz into this song, which are said to be the frequencies that resonate with the human heart chakra. I don't know how I can prove that, but the song certainly is beautiful, and the feedback I've got from this song has been incredible. So I certainly think there's something to it. But this is a song called Heart. It's in 60 beats per minute, which kind of mimics the rough heartbeat of a human. It has the heart chakra frequencies embedded to it, which you'll hear at the start of the song, and it's 7 minutes long. And I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. go. If you enjoyed that, that was called Heart. It's from the album True Solfeggio by Conspiracy Music.
That was beautiful, Alex.
Thank you, man. See what I mean about the two albums being a chasm apart?
Yeah, for sure. So what I found with that was it was, felt more, you feel it. You feel the music. It's not just like being like a tapestry in the background or something like that. So, yeah, you can feel those harmonics. It's richer. There's no doubt about that. It's more dimensional. Speaks to the soul, really, doesn't it? Because
I think
music...
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I sent it to a couple. When I first made it, I sent it to a bunch of people, and it made me emotional in the studio. And I'm a guy, I'm a bloke that's, born in the pubs, and I'd keep my emotion. I don't cry, as much as I should. But when I made that song and I had played it back, and in 4-3-2, once it was mixed and mastered, it really touched me. It was quite really emotional, and I'm not the type of guy to get emotional about anything. Really, I'm not. And I sent it to a few people, and it really moved people. I was getting reports of people bursting into tears, and one of my friends actually loved it so much he gave birth to it, which is quite amazing. There's something about the 4-3-2. There's something about, like you say, richer in harmonics. You're more encased within the song. It just stops you in your tracks. It just makes you want to listen to it even more. Rather than the kind of tepid nonsense that we have today. I like to think that I'm making real music in the real frequency. I'm trying to bring music back to life, because we've been robbed of real music for so many years in so many ways, not just the change of 4-3-2 to 4-40, but as we just touched on earlier, the bastardization of the music in general, the lyrical content, the chord progressions, the converting of the music into an MP3 in the name of convenience and ripping the soul out of the music. But what I'm doing now is putting music back on the table, real music in the real frequency. And if you were to purchase the physical CD of that album, which you can get, little plug here, which you can get at CD Baby, then you're buying the music as it was intended, as it was recorded in my studio. You're not getting the compressed versions on iTunes. You're getting the full WAV quality. So I think that's important, because the stuff that you're buying on iTunes and Amazon and whatever, you're getting compressed MP3s, which I don't agree with, and of course in 440. So there it is. Are you there? Did I lose you? Hello?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I was saying, so how did all these big rock bands like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin get by with 440 in their albums and have such impact? What do you think went on there?
Well, I mean, the impact, I think, not necessarily comes from... You can put a huge marketing budget behind Pink Floyd. And you can, even in 440... I would love to hear Pink Floyd songs recorded in 432. I mean, some people have taken their performances and converted them to 432, but they were recorded initially in 440. And that with creation of anything, particularly sound, carries an intention. And if you're doing that in 440 initially, you then convert that intention, if you like, to 432. And in 432 you get more resonance from a guitar, you get more sustain, you get more feeling, you get more harmonics when it's initially recorded in 432. As far as I know, Pink Floyd were recording in 440. It's all very well converting it to 432, but it was originally recorded in 440, so I'm led to believe. And the music can still have a profound effect on people when it's in 440, particularly a band like Pink Floyd, especially with the visuals and everything. But imagine what the effect would have been of the Pink Floyd music if they had decided to record initially everything in 432. That impact, as much as we felt that impact, it was a massive one, but it would have been so much more profound had it been recorded in the correct harmonic frequencies, I think. And of course, they were well funded, I'm sure. The bands that make it big in the industry are always, well funded, and they're there for a reason to push certain agendas and, create certain cultures. And, that's what I believe anyway, personally. Mark Devlin goes into a lot of detail in that in his work. But I just wonder what the effects would have been had bands like Pink Floyd recorded originally in 432. You muted again?
Oh, yes, sorry, I am. Yeah, I was thinking about that when all of these big bands went back and remastered their albums, like Jimmy Page did, remastered all his catalogue of music. And so what they did was they just, I guess they did destroy that essence that was captured by the analog system, but even though it was in 440. So I just marvel, they could have really had a much more successful everything had they known of 432. And it just goes to show that when 432 came in Germany during the war, it was only 20 years, not even, were they trying to get young people hooked on rock and roll. And so, yes, it did have a negative influence in a way on the world, if you think about it. Rock and roll did have a negative influence. And so, on that side of things, in that it really cheapened the quality of music, I guess, and made it popular, and probably robbed young people of a lot of spiritual development, I think. Yes, the hippies were all awakened, etc., and yeah, they did have that element as well. Rock and roll was able to do that somehow, but I see it as an agenda. I think it was like introduced.
I'm sure it's all agenda driven. Look at the rock and roll music that we have today. The heavy metal music that we have today, or trance music that we have today, this electronic dance music, trance words have meaning, as you well know. Trance music, these trance music festivals that are all over the world, and you start looking at the symbology of these trance festivals, all pyramid based and using a particular beats per minute to entice, or to get you into a trance, and add to that a huge amount of drugs that are at these festivals. Then you've got the perfect ingredients for mind control. So it's this electronic dance music, I think, is more tribal in its creation. And rock music is the same. They're using certain scales, certain chord progressions, certain musical modes. It's well known in music that certain musical modes, like the Lydian mode or the Mixolydian mode or the Dorian mode or whatever, can create certain can conjure certain feelings. Like the Lydian mode, for instance, is a very dreamy kind of sound. The Simpsons uses that. Da, 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 da. It's a very good. So we know that these kind of musical modes can be used to conjure up certain feelings. So I think the music industry is well aware of these kind of musical modes and the kind of feelings they can conjure up when you've got occult music producers at the highest level producing this kind of music. So, and even down to country music, even in this book that I spoke about earlier about it talks about the country music conspiracy and how the Princeton radio project, who was again funded by the Rockefeller and who was responsible for the War of the Worlds, which was a huge psyop, and their goal was to create an original American style of country music designed to nurture, cater to, attract and mould a permanent perpetual mentality of the lowest common denominator culture. The project to corrupt American values at its core and to create successive generations with a loser mentality was headed up by one guy called Theodore Weizenground, also known as Theodore Adorno. We know how these Germans like to change their names, who ran the Princeton radio project as an arm of the Frankfurt School of Mind Control. They then set about putting their A&R guys out there to find musical stars, and they particularly focused on getting artists and giving them music where the lyrics were kept simplistic. And to quote this book, lyrics were kept simplistic and the themes of country songs were kept simple-minded and depressing. Songs were also crafted around a southern loser mentality. around simplistic family themes dealing with mama, papa, brother, sister, kids, babies, dogs, cars, trucks, tractors, farming and ranching. And lyric lines were obsessed with loser themes of hurting, crying, cheating, lying, killing, drinking, gambling, shooting and dying. These melodies were monotonous, and such American country and western stars as Gene Autry were actually created by these A&R men working for the Princeton Radio Project, blah, 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 it goes on. And, you know, these country and western stars had to look like and dress like Hicks. A southern man who was well-dressed would not be recorded, photographed, or promoted. Instead, they were made to dress down and placed in a barnyard. All of this to promote the loser mentality throughout the United States. So, you know, that's the creation of country music right there. And that goes back, you know, almost 100 years now. So this is what we have in our music today. That's the agenda behind it.
And that's for country music, right?
It's just for country music, yeah.
What to say for rock and roll, you know?
Well, there you go. I mean, what to say for pop music or trance music or electronic dance music, anything that's in the charts now. You listen to, like, you know, the big pop star at the moment, I don't know, someone like Ed Sheeran. You listen to that and you listen to the lyrical content. It's nothing. You listen to the chord progression, so tepid and dull, just the same C, A minor, F, G, you know, and ripping off other songs. There's no exploration. There's no creativity in it. There's no musical light and shade to it. It's just utter tepid, I nearly swore then, utter tepid crap. But yeah, you can see the agenda going way back 100 years, and so that what we have today is, you know, mirroring what was going on back there with the country music.
Oh, okay, yep. So let's do that. But what were you just talking about? Because I did have a thought. Just nudge me on that.
Just the creation of country music as a genre, and then making the...
yes. Well, what Plato said. So what did Plato say in the Republic about music and its people? You know, if you want to know what a government is like, or a people...
Confucius, yeah. That was, yeah. To understand if a kingdom is well governed, if its morals are good or bad, the quality of its music will furnish the answer, isn't it? That was from Confucius, wasn't it?
Yeah, that would be, yes, similar. And Plato's was more in line of, you know, how to tell a good nation or a bad nation just by its music, you know.
There you go, yeah.
So, wow. Hey, just before we go to the questions, what's your astrology? Do you know your moon sign and ascendant?
No, I know that I was born in January the 27th in 1972. That's what I can tell you. I know, no.
Where?
Tell me, yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, at least we know your sun, so it's Aquarius. That's good. Mostly people who are lyrical like this and do political things come from the air elements: Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. So Bob Dylan was a Gemini. John Lennon was a Libran.
Both sold their soul to the devil, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, even Dylan was public about that.
I know. How about that? The way he did that was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was so cool.
All right, so Paddy Walking Turtle, what do you say to someone who is on the fence? They agree that NASA is in the movie business and know the moon landings were fake, but they also find discrepancies on both sides of globe versus flat theories. And that's the question.
I could address that. I mean, we can talk about all the proofs of a flat Earth until we're blue in the face. There's so many people going out there doing these long-range tests with lasers or mirrors or lights over large bodies of water where we should be finding curvature, and they're not finding curvature. Tests have been done, hundreds of tests have been done by now, and we can point people to all of these videos and, you know, the video footage of the start of the test and the end, and all the, and we can do that. We can talk about that till we're blue in the face. If you're really, really on the fence, if you really want to know the truth, then get out there yourself. Find a large body of water, start doing curvature tests with lasers, start having a bit of fun and see if you can find curvature, because a lot of people are trying, and you know what? They just can't find it.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at, I did a video entitled Flat Earth is Scientific and Globe Earth is Not, and gave hundreds of proofs. And one of them was a channel which is now taken down. A guy was flying from the eastern coast of South America, United States of America, somewhere toward like South Carolina or something like that, perhaps even Florida or somewhere, over to the west, and he would take photographic shots with a infrared filter on his very powerful camera. And what the eye would see is normally about 300 or 400 miles of horizon to the right or to the left at the most. But what he photographed, because of the infrared red wave being very long, he penetrated 1,200 miles from around Louisiana area, and he goes all the way up the Mississippi. You see all of the entire Mississippi.
You're not talking about Jay Tolan Media, are you?
Well, let me just have a look. I'll pull it up.
He's a guy that has an infrared camera, travels a lot on a plane, and he's seeing distances like you described, which is impossible on a globe. And like you say, the infrared just completely cuts through all the refraction and all the soup that we see in the air, the humidity and
well, all the particles. Yes, it's not transparent. There's always particles in the air.
Yeah,
so
there's a guy called Jay Tolan on YouTube, and he's very famous in the flat Earth community for doing just that, showing distances of 1,000 miles.
Yeah. Yeah. So his channel would be. Let's have a look. Anyway, I'll pull that up in a minute, but he was getting shots of past the Great Lakes, all of the Mississippi, all of the Great Lakes, all of Hudson Bay, then the top part of Canada there, and ocean beyond.
There you go.
That is 1,200 miles. That is 1,200 miles. There would have to be a plateau there somewhere. There would have to be if we were on a ball. So,
how many more see too far incidences do we need? How many? There's so many we see too far examples that we. I mean, even the long distance photography. The world record for that is, I think, it's about 300 miles. Again, impossible on a globe, and we could spout these all day until we're blue in the face. But you've got to really encourage people to go out there and go take a camera out there, get the P1000, which has got the longest zoom of any commercial camera out there, and start seeing things that you shouldn't be able to see. Classic example: the Chicago skyline over Lake Michigan, a classic one. But the weatherman will tell you what you're seeing here is a mirage.
Well, Alex, I like to, being an astrologer, I like to use the stars to help people think, right? So we've had thousands of years of recorded history on the stars and the constellations and their shapes, which have never, ever changed. Ever.
There you go.
So you can go up there and you can see every year the zodiac signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, they all turn up. They rise in the east, set in the west, as does the sun. They take the same course. So at night you can just follow that course, or you can even get your smartphone and just point up to the stars if you've got a star watching app, and you can see the ecliptic and you can see all of the constellations on there. There's never been any distortion in the shapes of those constellations. Capricorn still looks like it does from what the Egyptians have given us of Capricorn 450,000 years ago. So if we're hurtling through space, we're going around the sun at Mach 88, which is pulverizing and vaporizing breakneck speeds. Breakneck is just totally deficient. Mach 88, this soft sod of dirt wrapped in soft water, wrapped in a soft atmosphere with butterflies and flowers everywhere, is hurtling around the sun at Mach 88. The sun is hurtling around the centre of the Milky Way galaxy at Mach something like 1,000. Then the Milky Way galaxy supposedly is hurtling through the universe at 660 million miles an hour, which is Mach something ridiculous. Now, if that's happening, why are we not getting any parallax in any of the stars, any distortion in the shapes and the shapes of the constellations, and any dimming or brightening of the stars that we are coming toward, because we're hurtling at such untold, unbelievable speeds, and yet no stars are getting brighter, none are getting dimmer, none are changing. There is no parallax. Now, parallax is interesting because they will tell you that, for instance, let's take this constellation of Taurus. They will tell you that Aldebaran is 10 light years away. Betelgeuse is in Orion is like 120 million light years away. So within the same constellation, there is such a discrepancy of distance between those stars that you would absolutely have to see parallax every single day. Not never, ever, ever has any degree, minute or second of arc, of parallax, of proper movement, or just plain straight parallax of two stars differing in magnitude and distance to such staggering degrees, and yet they all stay the same. And so why is God so boring that he should make such a fast hurtling planet? And yet I would like to request in my next prayer that God give me some new stars to look at. Please, God, for all the hurtling and yahoodling through space that we are doing, and yet same old boring Aries, Taurus, Gemini? Come on.
It's almost as if we're stationary and the heavens above rotate above a flat plane. I mean...
It is kind of almost, isn't it?
Almost.
So, you know, that's one thing that I just use.
Glover's going to come in and talk about, you know, gravity and all that. Oh, well... No, I don't know. I don't believe it. I certainly don't believe it. It's when you start looking into this information, you can start to, you know, wonder at the heavens above and this perfect timepiece that I really never paid any attention to until now. You know, it's only now I'm starting to look up, and but again, like my song, everyone's looking down. You know, please look up, look up, look up. Now, I'm changing the subject a little bit. Apparently, if you look up in America now, they have laws against that. You need a sky gazing permit. Apparently, is that right?
I think so. I don't quite know.
I heard that. You have to have a stargazing permit if you want to look up at the stars.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. See, what they would do is they would be exposed, because if they tell you that the light approaching your eye now is from billions of light years away, and you can never really see the stars at all because they are light years away, then how do they do these photographs, so-called, of stars? Or they try and tell you what...
It's wizardry, isn't it? I mean, they'll just tell you that they've done it, and most people, 95% of the public, will believe it anyway. It's just absolute wizardry. You keep repeating it and repeating it and repeating it and showing images and say, yeah, this is what we found, this is what we found. Honestly, believe us. Come on, and wizardry.
Exactly. And how do they know that Aldebaran is of what magnitude and Betelgeuse is of another magnitude?
Oh, and on Venus, or it rains diamonds and things like this. I mean, it's just utter nonsense. I mean, it's theoretical physics. It's these theoretical physicists that just imagine this stuff, don't they? And it's like I don't know. It's a fairy tale, isn't it? All of it is a fairy tale. It's like William Shatner said. You know, it's when he was asked the question, what's the difference between science and science fiction? And he said, it's all the same.
True.
It's very true.
Same. Mm. It's incredible what a cosmos people think they live in. It's just total. It's fanciful. It's just totally ridiculous.
Yeah, but isn't it wonderful when you find out and you realise that it's all so much closer?
Oh, it is. It's just incredible. I think of the geniuses who died and their voices were not heard, like Pierluigi Gina, a scientist who worked for 10 years with Guglielmo Marconi, the inventor of the radio, and they together studied the sun. And he was a stationary earther. He, till the day he died, 2004, you can see his videos in Italian, little softly spoken gentleman, worked with Marconi and studied the stars and the sun. He says the stars are holes in the firmament, they are holes in the heaven, and he says the earth is stationary. He and Marconi knew this because what they did was they had antennas made of aluminium, or I think it was iron as well, some alloy, and filled with aluminium powder, both of the same shape, coil, going up from the earth. So one would be facing the sun upward, and then the other one would be under the earth. So they'd put them under the earth in the same shape as the one above to study the two energies, as Pierluigi Gina would say. He would say there are two energies. There's the sun's, and the atoms coming from the sun, the light is turning right clockwise, and then received by the earth and then returned back to the sun counterclockwise. So he said these are the two energies, and he said by studying these two energies you can confirm that the earth is stationary and what is moving is the ether, and the sun is turning round over the earth in the ether. And this is why Einstein came along to discredit the ether and remove it from our minds, from our mindset, from our knowledge base, because of the harm that it would do.
That, isn't it? I mean, there's a Sagnac experiment, there's a Michelson-Morley experiment that proved it was the ether and not the earth moving. And more recently, Bob Nodell from Globebusters, also with the what do they call it, gyroscope, proved exactly the same thing, that it's the ether that's moving and not the earth. So, well, there you have it.
Well, George Airy, Astronomer Royal, in 1879, repeated James Bradley's 1728 experiment with the telescope. The telescope experiment, right, called the Airy's failure.
Yeah.
So one easy way to tell, according to both of these Astronomer Royals, and who better to go to the chief astronomers in the universe at the time, and they did their experiments, and by filling a telescope with water, knowing that the water element, the liquid, would reduce the speed of the wave entering the telescope at the entrance and then hitting the receptive device, either a mirror or something, receiving the wave at the very, very end of the telescope, knowing that if the Earth were moving, once the water was placed in the telescope, they would have to then in turn change the already declined angle of the telescope in order to accommodate the slower wave. Whereas George Airy failed in his experiment because he failed to find that the Earth was actually moving. In other words, he confirmed it to be stationary because he didn't have to adjust the angle of the telescope. So I marvel at these experiments. These are all provable, verifiable, and repeatable, which is what qualifies a scientific experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not based on equations and all of these hypothetical. Even Copernicus said this is not to be taken as absolutely true. This theory, this hypothesis, he said, is only one to explain certain phenomena. It is not to be taken as accurately true. So what he did was he started a revolution. It's called the Copernican Revolution, because prior to Copernicus, nothing was moving on terra firma. It was always stationary. In fact, Pierluigi Ghina, he says in that interview, he's being interviewed, and he says to the interviewer, he says, I have a friend down in southern Italy who has invented a seismic machine that can detect 1/10 of a millimetre of the movement of the Earth. 1/10 of a millimetre, not a millimetre, not an inch, not a yard, but 1/10 of a millimetre of the Earth. And he says the moment the Earth moves 1/10 of a millimetre, it sets off the alarms, ding, 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 and virtually it never happens except for earthquakes. So as I was saying before, we're hurtling through space at Mach 88. That is pulverizing speeds. That is not that the heat factor alone. See, NASA shoots themselves in the foot because they tell you that they've got photos of the Earth, but what they're not showing is what is protecting the Earth's atmosphere from all of this Mach 88 travelling and wandering through the heavens. The front of the Earth would be burning up and the back of it will be just falling off at Mach 88 because there's nothing there, no concrete, walls or, well, they talk about the Van Allen belt. Well, where is it though? You see, too bad you've given us false photos and you've photoshopped out the Van Allen belt or whatever it is that's protecting the Earth, which causes aeroplanes to be able to fly from Paris to New York in 8 hours and reverse in 8 hours at the same time. So there would have to be an encasement wrapping the Earth atmosphere and encasing it and protecting it for aeroplanes to be able to do that magically. You see, because it is said that if you're in an enclosed space, like in a car, well then the whole atmosphere is going forward with you. Therefore, you can throw a ball up, and it'll fall back in your hand, and that explains what's going on with the Earth. But what they've done with these photos from out of space, supposedly, is where's that protective wall which encases the atmosphere? Where is it? Is it the ionosphere? Is it the thermosphere? Is it the Kuiper belt? The asteroid belt? What is it? It's not there. We're not seeing it. So, too bad. Easy way to show that the photos are a total disgrace, and just such a cheeky, to be kind word, a cheeky way to treat people that make them rich. Very, very.
Cheeky is not a word that I'd use. I mean, it's wizardry. It's mind control. It's actually when you really study it, it's actually really quite depressing. I mean, that these people have control over the minds of the masses, over 95% of the masses that believe in this heliocentric. I mean, it's right there in the word, isn't it? Heliocentric. Helio, the sun in the centre, and it is a trick.
Nicholas Copernicus said it, and twice in his name the word Nick turns up. Nick Copernic. And it's the Jesuits, because he was a Jesuit and devoted his book to Alessandro Farnese of the very, very wealthy elite Italian family who was Pope Paul III, and a conquistador. Currently, he was already conquering the Americas and bringing back gold to Rome. But he was also the founder of the Jesuits, and lo and behold, 2 years after the Jesuits were formed, Copernicus dedicates his book to Farnese. So, Nick...
It's a big club, isn't it? It's a big club, as George Carlin said. It's a big club and you ain't in it.
How's this? I've pointed this out too in the video that I mentioned just before. Flat Earth is scientific and globe Earth is not. I quoted Galileo Galilei. That's the same word. One is singular and one is plural. And what does Galileo mean? Well, hark back to the scriptures where Jesus is on the circuit of Galilee, then go to your Strong's Concordance, and it will tell you that Galilee is the circuit of the ecliptic of the zodiac of the Greeks, which is astrological, hence Jesus is the sun, and the 12 disc eyeballs are the 12 signs of the zodiac. So the root of the word Galilee is to revolve, to turn, to rotate. Therefore, when he said his last words when he recanted, "Eppur si muove," and though it turns, it moves, well, you can see how the whole world is theatre, because his name means to move, to revolve. So this is how they drop the characters in history. And they're rubbing it in our nose, in our faces, under our noses, they're hiding it, you know. Galileo Galilei literally means to rotate. And his last words when he recanted were, "Eppur si muove." What was that in English? I keep forgetting it in English. What were his last words? And yet it moves. That's it. And yet it moves.
It's almost, it reminds me of one of Von Braun's headstone. He put the Bible verse, Psalm 19:1, and the Bible verse there is that the firmament showeth his handiwork, isn't it? The heavens showeth, what is it? Yeah, the firmament showeth, something like that. So it's almost like a nod and a wink, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is... I was a Jehovah's Witness most of my life before I woke up, and I can't remember how many times I would quote the scriptures where it says, "And Jehovah created the earth firm and immovable. Its foundations shall not be moved or shall not totter till times indefinite, even forever. Yea, saith Jehovah, the God of armies." How many times did I read that scripture? And yet... there it is saying that the foundations of the earth are stationary, they are immovable. No one's going to move it. It will never budge. It is perfect as it is. It's a perfect theatre. It has been created. It has been created by God's power of sonoluminescence, sound and light, cymatics, and it is a masterpiece of creation. Everything else moves, and this is the beautiful Ptolemaic model which I teach in my astrology. I am a Ptolemaic astrologer, which Ptolemy was the model before Copernicus that was okay for all of our intelligent ancestors rolling in their graves right now, and it was okay for them for thousands and thousands of years. Pyramid builders of Chartres, and all of those beautiful Gothic cathedrals before Copernicus, all intelligent ancestors built those amazing edifices and knew that the earth was stationary. And Copernicus comes along, starts a revolution, and lo and behold, we forget all of our astrology. We forget all. It's geocentric. Astrologers will sit there and tell you that the moon is a rock on the one hand, and that astrology is geocentric. See, there's two conflicting models there. How can the moon be a rock when Ptolemy says that all of the 7 planets are entirely luminous? I'll say that again. Quote unquote, entirely luminous. They are lights. They are archangels. The sun is in the Jewish system is Michael. Saint Michael, who slays the dragon, Saturn, who is Satan. And this is theological and it is astrological, you know. And so what they're trying to do is materialize the world. And everything is mechanical and material, a la Newton and Aristotle. The Aristotelian model and the Newtonian model, Einsteinian as well, is very mechanical and materialistic.
Godless.
Whereas before we knew of the Godhead and the Creator and the intelligent energy that magnetism is, which is the only, thank you Walter Russell, force that the Creator uses to create this beautiful cosmos. Magnetism, the only force, because magnetism is white light. When white light refracts and converts to a vibratory wave from a radiation wave, which is magnetism, radiation, it becomes redshift, blue shift, and refracts into 7 colours, which are redshift, blue shift. This is why your torso has a red chakra at the bottom and a blue chakra at the top of your torso, torus field body. And we as well, we are luminous. We are made from what we call atoms, and atoms are little units of God energy. They're little stars. Stars are what atoms are. Hence we are all young stars, youngsters, rock stars, gangsters, fraudsters, mobsters, monsters, masters, ministers, pastors, but everyone's a star. You see, as they say, we are stardust. So all I'm saying here is I'm not trying to get airy-fairy and sort of, you know, way out there and theoretical. I'm saying that everything is light, God is light, light is intelligent, and it is an intelligent created cosmos. It is in every facet, in every atom. Everything is thinking. It is mind, is universe is mind. You know, we are in the mind of God, as the Neoplatonists said. This is God's mind thinking, and we are units of God's individuated mind thinking. So really, we could say we are God, and we are different to God, because we cannot deny our Godship, you know, and we cannot deny that we are, you know, even that you are I and I am you, to a degree, even though we are individuals, you know. So we are all connected in that field, and the field is God, and it's magnetic, and there's always going to be individuals and units in that field, but there will always be the field. So I hope I haven't gone over the top with all of that theological stuff there, Alex. Sorry if I did, but we've got a few minutes more. I'd like to finish with a song and just perhaps just give all your details and contacts and everything to folks, and whatever else you want to say, please.
Yeah, great. Well, I've really enjoyed the chat tonight, man. Thanks for having me on. It's been an honour. You know, I like to showcase my music, and I like to talk about, you know, what musician doesn't like to talk about his music. So, no, it's thank you for the platform. I do appreciate it. If anybody wants to find out more information about me and what I do, you just have to remember 3 words. Those 3 words are conspiracy, music, and guru. So if you were to type that into iTunes, you would find my music. If you would type that into CD Baby, you would find my music. My YouTube channel is also called Conspiracy Music Guru. My website is called conspiracymusicguru.com. My first album was very comedic, a lot of bullet points in there about the world we live in, and pointing the finger at NASA. Very, very humorous and very good for waking people up. And I refer to that album as a bag of seeds. And the feedback from that's been really quite, really, it's enough to make you smile, let's put it that way. It's doing a really great job of sowing seeds. So there's that album, which you heard a track from earlier. My second album, it touches on the solfeggio healing frequencies. It's all guitar instrumentals that, you know, you heard the track earlier, Heart. So very, very different creatively and musically, that album is. And that's called True Solfeggio, under the same artist, Conspiracy Music Guru. So if you just remember those 3 words, Conspiracy Music Guru, and type that into your favourite search engine, then you'll definitely find me. But let's end on a really nice song that is one of my favourites, and this is called, if you're happy to go straight into it, Santos.
Yeah, and I'll just finish off with something too as well. So, yeah, what's the title there?
The name of this track is called Don't Let Them Take Your Mind, and it's actually kind of my story about waking up to the lies of the globe and how I now behave as an individual because of my new understanding about where we live.
Great. All right, folks, just want to remind all the listeners to support People for People Radio as well. Share the links, share the radio station, and let's see if we can build up the membership there as well and the support. And also good potential guests to be on the show. You can contact me at contact@universaltruthschool.com if you have anyone in mind that might want to be able to come onto a good station which is doing great work in the truth community, etc. And also if anyone out there would like to also be able to be a host on People for People. So I'm going to be working more here as well, or with the station, and making it grow and making it be a big voice in the internet community as well. So thanks, Alex, once again for having us. And once again, just if we could have the title, and we'll say see you later. Bye for now, folks. See you next week.
Cheers, Santos. Once again, thank you. This song is called Don't Let Them Take Your Mind from the album Flat Earth Man by Conspiracy Music Guru. Here we go.
Indoctrination blinded us all. From the very first day that we went to school, they put a globe in your face and that thing looked cool. The teacher explained how it all worked. Of course it sounded so berserk, but who was I to question it? Because I was just a tiny kid. It sounded crazy as could be, but teacher would never lie to me. She was real nice, she didn't know. She too was taught to believe in that globe. I don't blame her, it wasn't her fault. She was only repeating what she'd been taught. I went through life believing that lie. That spinning ball was now in my mind.
Don't let them take your mind.
Don't let them take your mind, man.
Don't let them tell you that you are not divine.
Don't let them do it, man. Don't.
Take control of your soul.
Take back control. Yeah.
Find the truth. Find it all.
Find it all, man. Yeah.
Don't believe their lies.
Don't believe it, man.
Let them take your mind.
Let them take your mind, man. All right, man. Listen up. So I'm hurling through space on a road to nowhere. So I live my life without a care, cause I was taught that there ain't no creator. That's what I was told from my educator. So I live my life so selfishly, there ain't gonna be no hell for me. I'll do what I want with no care for others, with no respect for my brothers. Until one day when I woke up and I drank some truth with my coffee cup. I learned that things ain't what they seem. This so-called reality is just a dream. There's deception everywhere that I look. The news, the TV, and in my school books. And pretty soon I'll realize that everything's just a pack of lies, man.
Don't let them take your mind.
Don't let them take your mind, man.
Don't let them tell you that you are not divine.
Don't let them do it, man. Don't.
Take control of your soul.
deception on a biblical level. It's orchestrated by the devil. Many think that hate don't exist, but that's what he wants. That's one of his tricks. But I found out that dude's real. And I'll tell you, man, that's a bitter pill. So I questioned everything I was told. I had to question that spinning globe. I had to relearn it all again and get some truth inside this brain. And pretty soon I realized that the globe I was taught was a pack of lies. So I studied as hard as can be. I found the flat earth conspiracy. Man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The globe I was taught was a devil's trick.
Don't let him take your mind.
Don't let him take your mind, man.
Don't let him tell you that you are not divine.
Don't let him do it, man. Don't.
Take control of your soul.
Take back control.
Find the truth. Find it all.
Find it all, man. Yeah.
Don't believe their lies. Let them take your mind.
Let him take your mind, man. I started to connect the dots, and I'm telling you, man, there are lots. I soon realized that the earth was flat. It's not a belief, man, it's a fact. And once I found out that reality, well, it did a funny thing to me. For a while there, I was pretty shocked, but now I know that there is a God. And once you get to that point of understanding, and once you know there ain't no moon landing, and once you know that space is fake, you view your life with a different take. It ain't just random chance that we're here. We ain't living on no stupid sphere. It ain't some ridiculous spinning ball. The earth is flat, and God created it all.
Don't let him take your mind.
Don't let him take your mind, man.
Don't let him tell you that you are not divine.
Don't let him do it, man. Don't.
Take control of your soul.
Take back control.
Find the truth. Find it all.
Find it all, man. Yeah.
Don't believe their lies. Let them take your mind.
Let him take your mind, man. Well, now I found out about all these lies. I live a completely different life. I stopped reading the news and turned off the TV. That thing is evil as can be. I started being a nicer guy. And God forbid I tell a lie. I treat people with more respect, and I've got me a wife that I'd never neglect. Yeah, being good's working out for me. Now I ain't blinded and I could see. I know that there is a God above, and if I'm good, then he'll show me love. I try to live life selflessly to be the best that I can be. I treat people how I want to be treated since my indoctrination was defeated. So don't believe in the devil's lies because it's God he wants to hide. That's why they teach that spinning ball to make you think you ain't special at all. Don't believe what you're being told. Don't believe that you're evolved. It's all an accident and you are too. No, you're someone special and God made you.
Don't let him take your mind.
Don't let him take your mind, man.
Don't let him tell you that you are not divine.
Don't let him do it, no.
Take control of your soul.
You gotta take back control.
Find the truth.
Find the truth.
Find it all.
Find it all, man.
Don't believe their lies.
Don't believe it.
Let them take your mind.
Don't let him take your mind.